why you wouldn't want to fly like a superhero. Ever dreamed of flying like Superman? Who hasn't? Zooming anywhere fast, skipping traffic, and never paying for a fare ticket sounds amazing. Just picture yourself as a superhero gliding above the clouds. But wait a second, what if I told you that having the power to fly might not be as awesome as you think? Surprising, right? Science has some interesting facts about why being able to fly like a superhero might not be so great after all. Imagine this, you're zooming through the air, feeling like the coolest superhero ever, when suddenly, poof, your flying powers disappeared. Uh-oh, now you're falling to the ground super fast. And if you can fly, what happens when it suddenly rains? You can't exactly carry an umbrella while you're in the air, can you? What are you, Mary Poppins? If you use skincare products, be careful. The sun would fry your skin. And the scariest part, what if you run into a flying vampire in midair? Yikes. But that's not all, because science has even deeper reasons why you might say no to the power of flight. Did you know that as you go higher in the air, there's less oxygen? Well, you might not always notice this since you can't fly, but this is what happens when you're in an airplane or on a high mountain. As altitude increases, the air gets thinner and it becomes harder to breathe due to lower atmospheric pressure. Earth's atmosphere has layers with different levels of oxygen. The layer where we can breathe is called the troposphere. This is also where weather happens, like rain and wind, and it extends up to about 24,000 feet from sea level. There's plenty of oxygen within the troposphere, which is why we can breathe easily. But as you go higher and higher, the air pressure drops, meaning there's less oxygen for you to inhale. So when you reach extremely high places like mountains, breathing becomes much harder due to the lower atmospheric pressure. For example, Mount Everest, which is about 29,000 feet high, has only about 33% or one-third of the oxygen available at sea level at its summit. At its altitude, most climbers need extra oxygen to avoid severe altitude sickness. At even higher altitudes, for example, at 63,000 feet above sea level, the air pressure is so low that there's almost no oxygen. If you were to reach this height without a special pressure suit and oxygen supply, the gases in your body would expand and form bubbles in your blood. The liquids in your body would vaporize and quickly evaporate. In this situation, you'd barely have time to say your last words. So, even if you could fly, unless you have other superpowers besides flight, you'd need to stay at lower altitudes, similar to the heights of mountains. Alright. I know what you're thinking. You might say you don't plan on flying super high anyway, because what would you do in space unless you're visiting the International Space Station? But of course, you need to consider the limitations of your flying ability. Besides the lack of oxygen, another big problem is the bone-chilling cold. Sure, you could wear a puffer jacket, but when you reach 32,000 feet high, which is the cruising altitude of airplanes, the temperature drops to about negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. You could freeze solid due to frostbite or hypothermia. If you don't have a special spacesuit or flight gear to keep you warm, it might be better to lower your flight altitude. Maybe stick to heights where you're at eye level with pigeons. Oops, hold on. You might think you can just fly alongside birds, but there's another problem. You can't fly too fast, especially at low altitudes. If you collide with a bird, it's not just a huge hassle, it's a feathery disaster. Just think about large airplanes. They can't always avoid bird strikes despite their speed. When planes hit birds, it can cause serious damage due to the high-speed impact. This is dangerous for both the aircraft and its passengers. So, if you're flying, be careful at low altitudes where there are more birds, or you might end up with broken bones. And if you're at a very low altitude, watch out! You could crash into power lines and, worse, you might even get electrocuted. To be safer, you should fly at higher altitudes. But wait, you already know it's freezing cold and there's no oxygen up there. So where are you supposed to fly? Let's face it, if you want to fly fast, whether high or low, you'll need the proper gear to protect you from any temperature, altitude, or wandering birds. You'd need a thick suit made of advanced materials like titanium alloy or carbon fiber. It's tough but lightweight. And of course, it should have a built-in life support system and temperature control to protect you from extreme cold or heat, kind of like Iron Man's suit. But here's another problem. If you're flying in populated areas, you'd probably need a permit from the government. You can't fly in restricted areas, and you'd have to follow airspace regulations. Well, you're not a drone or an aircraft, but this could still be an issue. Okay, so you're suited up in gear as high-tech as Iron Man's. Can you fly high enough for some space sightseeing? Well, you could, but it's risky. When you fly that high, you're exposed to cosmic rays, high-energy particles from space. This is no joke because it can cause cancer, heart problems, or even cognitive issues. And if you suddenly go up or down too fast, you might get hit with decompression sickness or barotrauma, which results from pressure changes inside your body. Barotrauma is an injury caused by rapid pressure changes, like gases expanding in your body, which can cause pain, eardrum damage, or even bubbles in your blood. Let's assume you have a high-tech suit with advanced shielding technology to protect you from cosmic radiation and a pressurized system or sudden pressure changes. The suit might have radiation shielding that blocks most low-energy radiation, but it may not be able to stop high-energy cosmic rays that could still get through. So it should come with a built-in radiation detector to warn you when you're getting too many space rays. The suit would be pressurized and equipped with a high-tech life support system. This system automatically adjusts the internal pressure to keep you safe from decompression sickness, particularly when you zoom up or down quickly through different altitudes. But no matter how advanced the suit is, it still has limitations. If it gets damaged or fails, you might lose protection against radiation or pressure changes. So if you're buying a suit, don't get it from a sketchy online marketplace. Now you know that flying isn't as easy as it looks in the movies or comic books. In reality, it's cold up there, there's not enough oxygen, and you need to watch out for collisions. Superheroes in comics and shows have powers beyond just flying. They can rescue people and do all sorts of extraordinary things. If you suddenly woke up with the power to fly, you'd probably need super strength just to deal with all the challenges. But remember, all of this has scientific explanations, and this information might come in handy if you ever do get the ability to fly.